Hello, I'm Senator Chris Marr from Spokane's 6th Legislative District, and welcome once more to my weekly legislative update. It's about halftime for this year's legislative session, but for bills navigating the labyrinth of our legislative process, we're barely into the second quarter, so let me explain. The legislative session is broken down into a series of 4 major cutoff deadlines. For bills, we've just passed the deadline for bills to be voted out of the committee that they were assigned to. To this point, most of the action this session has occurred in committee rooms, where stakeholder groups and constituents have come to tell legislators what they think of these individual bills. Now the focus will shift to the floor of the House and Senate, where action will be fast and furious. Bills must be voted out of the chamber where they were introduced by the 12th of this month to stay alive. That means that my bills must be approved by the full Senate so they can be introduced in the House and begin going through the same process over there. If you were to come to visit Olympia in the next week or so, you'd find an energized legislative building which is just buzzing with activity. Now the heat rises as the floor cutoff approaches and various interest groups work feverishly to make sure the bills that they care about get voted on and bills they don't like are ignored. By now there's no time for lengthy meetings or phone calls to hear big new ideas, as many hours are spent on the floor. Communication with constituents can be limited to email, which I can actually access from my seat on the floor. With so much time dedicated to floor sessions, I often have more time to respond to constituent inquiries myself. Representatives for stakeholder groups clamor outside the chamber doors, sending in notes with the latest information or pleas for help. Members will scurry outside to meet with them for just very brief conversations, many just lasting a minute or two. It's a stressful but exciting time for senators. Most of us have been meeting with constituents and hearing concerns and ideas since last spring. Many of these ideas were brought to the legislature and they enjoy broad support with little or no opposition. But in the crunch of time, many great ideas fall by the wayside as legislators are pressed to make sure their bills don't get lost in the mix. This process is designed to make sure that it's hard to get new laws enacted, so that only the ideas that have been given the greatest scrutiny actually make it through. So when the clock strikes 5 p.m. on March 12th, there will be a trail of broken hearts leading from the Capitol, and the bills that pass this test are guaranteed to live only until the next cutoff deadline, when they'll face, once again, another hurdle. Now that's our democracy in action. As always, I encourage you to contact my office by phone or email to share your ideas and concerns. And if you send me an email during the next week or so, just don't be surprised if you get one back from my seat on the Senate floor. So we'll see you next week for another update.